call it iPhone. Oh, I can't stand him. Apple has fired back at the government, saying they could have accessed the San Bernardino shooter's iPhone after the tragic incident. A spokesperson said that if the passcode had not been changed 24 hours after the phone was seized, they could have gotten into the shooter's cloud. San Bernardino County Department of Public Health, who owned the phone, changed the password to gain access to some information. Apple CEO Tim Cook has refused to comply with the order to hack into one of the shooter's iPhones. Earlier Friday, the Justice Department sought to force Apple to work with the FBI to bypass the phone's passcode. Federal prosecutors say that Apple's refusals appear to be based on its concern for its business model and public brand. You're absolutely right. What the government is asking Apple to do is something that is completely unprecedented, has never been done before. What they are asking them to do is to bypass all of the security, which means that after it leaves the hands of the FBI, it could be in anybody's hands, and anybody who has a little money to pay would be able to crack into your phone. How? They go ahead and they bypass the fact that after 10 tries, the phone is wiped clean, and they're able to put it in a machine that tries every single last password possibility in seconds. iPhone said that the technology doesn't exist. And right now, as far as it stands, code is a First Amendment. It's a form of speech. So the government can't tell you that you have to say something. You have to write this code. And Apple's like, listen, the Constitution says is protecting me. I don't have to do anything. And this is software that doesn't exist. What you're asking me to, what you're telling me to do is to create software that doesn't exist because one of your idiots went ahead and changed the password. That's your fault. I'm not doing it. Who's right? Who's right? Wrong. 617-282-0062. As a parent, as somebody who, that could have been us, that could have been our children. Wouldn't you want the answers? But at the same time, it's a slippery slope because if Apple goes ahead and creates this software, anybody can use it. Everybody can use it. And federal prosecutors say that Apple's refusals appear to be based on its concern for its business model. Yes, because everybody knows that you can't crack into these new iPhones. You can't. It's damn near impossible. If you find an iPhone today, you might as well just ship it back to Apple because there's nothing you can do with it. Once upon a time, those 3s and 4s, you could crack into them. So it's more than just the business model. It's the trust. It's the trust that this company is going to have my information as safe as possible. And if they create this software, it's free game for everybody. Oh, I promise it'll only stay in the FBI hands. Nobody else will get it. Lies, they told you on a Monday. Up to 60 wounded U.S. soldiers get penis transplants to help them start families. So last week when I thought this was oh so funny, I had somebody who hit me in my inbox and said that they know somebody personally who had a penis implant. And I was just like, hold on, I just read the story. I thought there was only one. And the story was sent to me that no, up to 60 wounded soldiers get penis transplants to help them start families on a regular basis. Wounded soldiers will become the first to undergo penis transplants in the U.S. Patient lost most of his penis and sustained serious groin injuries, injured in a bomb blast while serving in Afghanistan. And surgeons hope to perform the operation on 60 veterans in the up and coming months. They say donated organs from deceased men should provide fully functional penises. I still think it's amazing. And I don't think they should go ahead and wait for the same color in the same age. Maybe the same age because you want that penis to be able to work perfectly fine. But I think it would be dope if he had a two-toned. I'm sorry. I still think that part's funny. An 8-year-old girl dies now. I know my nurses are going to be very upset with me, my doctors that are currently listening. Good rising, kings and queens. I know you're going to be pissed, but please understand as a parent who does not vaccinate her children, that this is the story. And stories like these are the reason why my children are not vaccinated. An 8-year-old girl suddenly dies from flu complications days after celebrating her birthday. Mind you, listen to the story, listen to the wording, listen to how they're trying to frame this. 8-year-old girl dies suddenly from flu complications. What they don't even tell you unless you read through the entire document is that she had a flu shot a few days before she was diagnosed with the flu. There have been 226 confirmed flu-related hospitalizations this year. This year, 2016, 226 confirmed flu-related hospitalizations this year only in the state of Utah, and 2 deaths have been reported in Salt Lake County. These are just things I want you to think about. And when you do your own due diligence, I want you to go back to the conversation that we had with the organization, the largest organization for immunization shots. I know I butchered that. She became ill with a stomach bug after being tested for influenza A. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the difference between influenza A, influenza B, C, D. She died on Valentine's Day. The Summit County Health Department in Utah are waiting for confirmations of the flu and whether it actually caused her death. Or maybe we need to take a look at why 226 other cases in one state with 2 deaths, one being this 8-year-old girl after being shot. Can we discuss that? Of course not. Of course not. So a GoFundMe account has been set up to help the family create a memorial in the Park City and has raised close to $30,000 just in 4 days. And I am going to follow the story because I'm really interested to see if they're going to go ahead and diagnose this and say it was because of the shot. She fell ill and got sick and died. And if that's the case, then the family is eligible for those monies that are pooled together in that my baby was killed because she had I'm just mentally going back to the conversation that we had when the woman of the organization called up and she was talking about her son and her whole life. Her son is 32 years old, and for the past 32 years of her life, she has dedicated, and anybody who knows anything about a nonprofit, that is not the most profitable business to be in. She dedicated her whole life to finding solutions and keeping parents informed. Just keep yourself informed, baby. It will be the biggest and fastest network in the world. Free Wi-Fi kiosks go live as part of the New York's Link NYC program. The kiosks, referred to as links, were launched on Thursday. Users are able to make free domestic calls, charge their cell phones, access the internet, and dial 911. Mayor Bill de Blasio said in the 2016 internet access is not a luxury. It's not something optional. His office has said overall at least 7,500 links have been put up, and as many as 10,000 will be installed across the 5 boroughs. I know here in Massachusetts, here in Boston, actually, we have wicked free Wi-Fi. I told Denari that that's what he needs to use so he can save his data. He told me it doesn't work well. So if you know something about that differently from what Inari's expressed to me, that it doesn't work, I personally haven't used it, but we do supposedly have wicked free Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's the name of it. When you go and search Wi-Fi availabilities, that's the name, wicked free Wi-Fi. I don't know how it works because I personally have never used it, but we have it here in Boston. Richard Branson returns to passenger space travel with the new craft. The Unity was named by British physicist Stephen Hawking, and he came out February 19th in California and said, "We're going back to the moon." Do you guys remember I posed that question? If we went to the moon and it takes 72 hours to go to the moon, why don't we have honeymoons? Why can't we have a honeymoon on the moon? Why don't we have weekend trips to the moon? It takes 72 hours to get there. Anybody have any answers? Tayla, because we never went to the moon. So somebody has told me we never went to the moon. That was all a television thing. That was the first reality TV to ever pop out. I have questions because if that's the case, that explains why we've never been back. What's there to go back for? Supposedly, they said that they found music on the moon. They can't explain where it's coming from or what song it is, but there is music on the moon. My name's Bennett. I ain't in it. I'm just going to sit here and sip my tea. There's a lot going on. We know more about space, supposedly, than we do about our own oceans. I don't believe that to be true. I think that is one of those snoop attacks of, there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to worry. We know everything that's in outer space. And the truth of the matter is, we know nothing. Let's talk about that. He said, once you accept the fact that you know nothing, that's when you can begin your path to learning something. South Carolina inmate receives 37 years in solitary confinement for posting Facebook status update. And guess what? The United Nations says that this is cruel and unusual punishment. It has been recently reported that the South Carolina Department of Corrections is handing out time equivalent to that of murder, rape, kidnapping for a simple Facebook post. Taheem Henry received the harshest penalty to date. Henry was handed down 13,680 days, which is the equivalency of 37 and a half years, and the loss of 27,360, aka 74 years worth of telephone and visitations and canteen privileges, and 69 days of good time for 38 posts on Facebook. Others, such as Walter Brown, who received 34.5 years in solitary confinement and lost 69 years of phone visits and commissary privileges, were handed down these sentences that have been termed cruel and unusual punishment by the human rights organizations. You're in jail, you post on Facebook, you update your family on what's going on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought some incarcerated persons did have access to the internet. I say that because I have a friend that actually has a boyfriend in jail, and they communicate on a regular basis, and I don't know how. But I could have sworn she said he sent me a Facebook message. But 37 days of being in a room by yourself for social media. So now we're going to take this social being and put them in a place where they cannot be social because he was being social. To me, it just doesn't make sense. I get it. Again, rules, laws, policies, I get it. But at what point are we going to continue doing the same thing over and over again, understanding that these social creatures have to be social? We do the same thing to monkeys. We do the same thing to dolphins. We do the same thing to animals that we keep captive and say, oh, it's a zoo. Oh, it's an aquarium. This is unacceptable. Cruel and unusual punishment does not even begin. 37 and a half years of having to be by yourself, 74 years lost of telephone visitations and canteen privileges. Am I the only one that it just doesn't make common sense? 6 months, 8 months, even a year, but 37 years in a room by yourself and 74 years worth of telephone? I'm sorry. I'm not okay with that. I want to go back and remind you again, there is another report. This is the third, maybe even the fourth report that I'm reading about Argentina and Brazilian doctors suspect that the mosquito insecticide is the cause of these babies with little heads. Not the actual fact of being bitten by this mosquito, but the insecticide. You guys know who created the insecticide? Monsanto. Don't believe me? Go read. Under new Oregon law, I read this last week, but I think it just makes so much sense that I want to reiterate, and maybe somebody will pick up the phone and call a state legislator, will call a city councilor, will call the governor. Under new Oregon law, all eligible voters are registered unless they opt out. All registered voters are already registered. As long as you're eligible, you're registered, unless you want to opt out. Doesn't that make sense? Maybe just to me. Wall Street analyst says that Hillary Rodham Clinton would be the best president for healthcare investors. With that being said, Hillary, where you at? A Wall Street analyst says that Hillary Rodham Clinton would be the best president for healthcare investors. I'll just leave that right there until Hillary calls me. In other news, here she is. Good rising, Hillary. Talk to me, baby. Hey, boo. You know I'm super fantastic.
And while you're saying that, can you make sure that you let the viewers and listeners know that Hillary won Nevada?
Mm-hmm. She sure did.
Put that in there. When you being negative, make sure you put the positive in there too.
She sure did. She sure did.
Yes, she sure did. So make sure, because I don't be hearing that a lot. I hear a lot of all the stuff that you want to say negatively about her, but please make sure you let our viewers and listeners know that she did win Nevada. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't by minuscule, it was by a lot. So just keep an eye on the voters. And currently they're tied, says the polls. But like I told you before, you have to wait until you see the voters come out and actually vote.
You're right. I'm not going to argue with you when you're right.
And I just wanted to find out, Tayla, I was going to call you. I hear every day, I listen to you about a lot of the topics. Do you cover local news? Because I never hear you really talk about, like, Boston in particular. I hear you talking about other states and stuff. So I just wanted to find out, do you let our listeners know what's really going on in our city? You leave that up to us to do our due diligence.
I think we have here in Massachusetts, I think we have a great media team that is, across all platforms. I think we are one of the cities where we do our due diligence and we inform the listeners. And I feel like I'm proud of the job that's currently being done. Outside of, this small scope of our city, I want to focus on the macro of what's going on outside of us. So the pieces that you're putting together, and at the same time, I don't want to repeat stories. So a lot of stories that you're hearing, if you watch the news, repeat themselves over and over and over again. So I do try to focus on things that are outside of the city, but we can discuss whatever, anything, everything that you guys want to discuss.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to find out. Agree that we do have a good communication as far as they repeat the news that's going on in our city. So if you missed it in the morning, you definitely can catch it in the midday, the evening, late at night, before 11 o'clock. They have 9 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news. So I just was wondering. A lot of violence going on in our city. And when you talk about gun violence in other states and what we need to do, do our due diligence. I just want to make sure that we keep in the forefront that these things are going on in our city too. And we need to have a plan on how we're going to help these young kids stop being so violent towards each other and have a little love and respect for themselves. A young boy just got killed last night on Devon Street, 16 years old, got stabbed. So I just want to put that out there that although you do the world news and you want to keep us informed on stuff that's going on outside our city, for the people that may not watch the news, that don't have a chance whenever, that our violence is still going on in Boston. So I want to put that in the forefront and hope that we can come together and just do our part in helping these young children, because they are out of control. They have no guidance. And if you could just do a little bit for one, you've done your job.
I totally agree. As far as our city is concerned and the destruction in our city right now. I don't know what the solution is, Sway, and I don't think our leaders have the solution either, because how long has this been going on for? Like, this didn't start yesterday. So
just wanted to put that out there, and I love and appreciate you. Go Hillary.
Go Hillary. All right, baby. Bye, baby. 617-282-0062. Good Rising Caller, you live.
Hello.
Hi, baby. It's you.
Hi, no, this is Economizer. I was calling in.
Oh, baby, do me a favor. Hang up and call right back so I can pull you up on a line where we can hear you. Okay. Reggie B, good rising, good rising.
Just want to, piggyback off with the sister who you called her, you just got the phone with. There's a prominent brother named Jamal Crawford, and if she goes to blackstonian.com, he updates everything. So, he's on top of that game when it comes to Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. I just want to put that out there. She can go to Blackstonian.com, www.blackstonian.com, and get up all the update news for Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan.
And also, Reggie B, thank you. I love and appreciate you. Also, head over to oh Lord, did I just forget? He's on Twitter and he covers everything. Anything that's on the police scanner, he got it. Not just for Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury, but he also covers Brockton, New Bedford. Why can't I think of Statco, Statcos, Stacos communication. He's on Twitter. And remember, I told you guys, if you're not on Twitter, please get on Twitter because you're going to get some information that you never found before, that you were completely unaware of. And him and his team are not getting paid. They are completely volunteers, no payment, no donations, no nothing. So if you guys have, and I don't know how I'm over here appropriating donations in that direction, but he actually does a really good job. And he was on air with us last year. I'll go ahead and repost that show because he goes through in-depth everything, baby, from Brookline to Braintree to New Bedford. He even covers Rhode Island. Like he does it all. Statcoast communication. Really quickly, we have our conundrum on the line, but I want to get to you, the listeners. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Hi, Tayla. It's me again. I just wanted to thank Reggie B. I do go on that website also, but I wanted to just put that out there. Also, Universal Hub has information on everything that's going on in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and you'd be very surprised about how high our crime rate is, and they don't report it. So you could be down the street and someone done got stabbed, robbed, and you'll never know. But Universal Hub is a really good source for that type of information. It could be right down the street from where you live and you never hear about it. So tell Reggie B thank you. And I just wanted to put that out there because although we need to know what's going on in the world, we definitely need to stay on top of what's going on in our city. Because if we in the city don't do anything, even if it's a little bit, we're going to be a statistic just like everybody else in their own city. So just pay more attention to what's going on in our city and try and do our part in our city. And then we can start spreading that information and that resources to everybody else. But I just think we need to make sure that we stay abreast on what's going on in Boston.
Absolutely. 617-282-0062. We currently have on the line our conundrum. For those who don't know, she had the #1 show of 2015 talking about cognitive dissonance. And this time around, she's with us talking about serial entrepreneurs, about diversity in Black businesses. Our conundrum is a college graduate, a serial entrepreneur that has managed a Fortune 500 franchise and increased profits a record-breaking 250%, provides free information for new business owners at Empowered by Our Conundrum. We will be reposting today. 617-282-0062. Good rising, Queen. How are you?
Hey, I just touched down from New York about 2.5 hours ago, so I'm seeing no sleep, but I'm so excited that you're doing this, and thank you so much for having me again this year.
Thank you. You I don't know if you knew this, but you had the #1 show last year on cognitive dissonance, and people.
No, I had no idea. Wow.
Now you know, no one's half the battle. It was the best show. People were really taken back by the knowledge that we gained. And for those who are unfamiliar, I'll go ahead and find it and repost it for you as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Anytime, all the time. So today we're talking about serial entrepreneurs or diversification in Black-owned businesses, disproportion of Black ownership versus sales. Let's jump right into it.
Okay, so basically, we just like last year or so, we're always tackling the issue of what we can do to further ourselves as a people. And there are some core things that I think that are inarguable, even if people want to decide what methodology or, what to do first. There are some things that are at the core, like family and finances. If we don't have those two things strengthened, we're not going to progress. So this year, I wanted to talk about, especially in light of what we've been seeing for Black History Month, I wanted to touch on that. So basically, building and securing wealth is one of the greatest advantages, for social and political bargaining power. So it's only through supporting Black-owned businesses that our population gains leverage and better access. So, at the end of the day, this is a capitalistic society and money talks. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, money can allow us greater access to resources. But what's really important is that we ensure that we put money in the hands of people that are sympathetic to our causes and our community. Like without that, we're not really moving forward, So I've done a little bit of research. Thankfully, we have Wi-Fi and playing well. And so I have good news and bad news. And the good news is that the census reports that the minority businessship is up and has increased at more than twice the national rate. And Black ownership, believe it or not, is up 60.5% from 2002 to 2007. We are literally whooping every race and even the category of veterans for business ownership. So that's astronomical. But the bad news is that our sales are down. So according to public policy, there's a nonpartisan research at the University of Michigan. We have lower sales, lower profits, we hire fewer employees, and we have a higher closure rate than our counterparts are white-owned businesses. And so I think that's imperative to kind of unpack that.
So I'm a little confused because you're saying that we rank number one when it comes to brand new businesses, but you're saying even though we have all these businesses, we're still not making money. How can that be?
Right. So we're literally starting and opening businesses, but we don't have the sales value and we're closing higher than anyone else. So here we have the ambition, we have people who are taking the risk, we have the motivation behind it, but it's not being sustained. And so basically, there's on the owner side of it, okay, there's things that you just simply can't get around, like the role of family. So if you are the first person in your family to open a business, of course, you're going to lack the resources. You're going to lack the real support system, not just, yes, you can do it, I believe in you, but someone who's already done the hard work to give you, a hands up on that. So if you don't have that family inheritance or lack thereof, which is startup capital, and then you also have the business of human capital. So employees that have a particular expertise or skill set. So those are the core things on the owner side that we can't really readily repair. So, they're there. You really can't get around it. Those are things that will take time to repair. But my main focus is on what can we do? Because I don't like to just tell a person, oh, we have this problem, and this is something that's going to take 2 or 3 generations to remedy. My focus is, okay, what can we do right now? And so I'm more focused on the consumer aspect of it, right? So we have things that we can readily see, tangible things, like population and income. We make up 14.7% of the population. That goes without saying. But what's important is that the white household, on average, earns $50,000 a year versus $32,000 a year for the Black household. That doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're factoring in disposable income,
That's a tremendous difference. But most importantly, a white household has on average, $111,000 of wealth via their home, their home, their savings account, whatever. They have access to literally on average $111,000 versus $8,000 for the average household, average Black household. So that difference right there is what we really have to understand. Any entrepreneur, any Black entrepreneur really has to understand that in terms of, sometimes we search for demographics, how many Blacks, this age, that. You really have to understand when you target Blacks, their disposable income is, the $111,000 a year, on hand, versus 8,000. And so those are reasons that Black businesses or the Black consumer is not able to completely help sustain a Black-owned business that specifically targets Black people.
So let me ask you a quick question, because one of the things that we know is 1.7 trillion. That's our buying power. That as a nation, our buying power is 1.7 trillion. And when you go back and you say that we are number one in starting businesses, but we don't have any capital, why exactly are we not attracting this $1.7 trillion to our businesses?
Right. Well, and we say that often, and we're very proud. It's like, okay, 1.7 trillion, we need to focus on that. But when you juxtapose that to the American GDP, which is 16.7 trillion, it better puts into perspective exactly what that means. So 1 versus 16. That's a huge difference to kind of give us an idea of where we are. So a lot of our money and our buying power, we have to understand, those who are living below the poverty line, a lot of your money goes towards basic necessities, right? Your basic necessities. So you're spending money, true, but you're buying toilet paper, toothpaste, washing powder, things that you need. We don't necessarily just have the luxury of buying, like we always hear, white people buy all the CDs and hip hop, because Black folks just don't have a disposable income a lot of times. Now, granted, yes, we do go out and we do buy luxury items here or there, but overall, yes, we don't necessarily have nowhere near the buying power that America has as a whole.
What's the good news? Because I feel like you just gave us a whole bunch of bad news. Where's the good news?
Here's the good news. The good news is that I think that what we have to do differently is something that we haven't really kind of focused on. And this is my sort of fix to the situation. Number one is just that thing. We have to, a lot of our businesses, and Black businesses, they are definitely targeted specifically towards Black, and they tend to be luxury items, not the toilet papers, not the toothpastes, not the things that we need every day. So I think as entrepreneurs, there's a saying that you kind of have to do what you need in order to do what you want. I think that we have to expand our minds to kind of tap into everyday things, everyday items that you spend your money on, things that you use consistently. We have to start to tap into some of those markets, not just the creative and ambitious and fly and fun businesses, but the routine businesses that are going to provide consistent money. You know what I mean? Not things that someone spends their money if they have extra money. But how can we tap into some of that money that goes because it's absolutely needed money? So those are definitely some of the things that we have to do. We talk about the Black dollar and the circulation of the Black dollar, right? So in the Asian community, the dollar stays in there for a month. Jewish community, 20 days. White, non-Jewish, 17 days. Black, 6 hours. So that's another thing that we have to focus on. But it's not necessarily just about circulating the dollar, it's capturing. Because I target Blacks. I have products that I literally create
specifically for Blacks. And I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs who share my same sentiment. If you are an entrepreneur, you're in business, you pretty much know the numbers. Well, I hope most people know the numbers, right? You know, when you target a specific niche market, it's a very small market. So you know what you're dealing with. Most of those things that we do are kind of like, I want to say intrinsic, even though, of course, we go into business to make money, but they're intrinsic things. So they're kind of like, natural hair products. There was not an abundance of that. And so you had people like Cheryl's daughter or, you know, other women who were creating products that weren't on the shelves and that were needed and worked. And of course, then that goes ahead and blooms out. Or you have people who say, oh, we don't have a social media platform for Blacks. And then you have a company or a person like Tributary who created a platform for Blacks. Or you have a person like myself who created Melanin Minds Meet specifically, you know, for Blacks.
Hold on, repeat that. Melanin Minds Meet?
Melanin Minds Meet.
And what is this and what is it for? I'm sorry, but I just want to.
I'm sorry. Well, that basically it came out of a need. So my followers, it was a conversation that was sparked on a post. And it seems that there was not necessarily, say, a dating site per se for content. So you'll have blacksomethingmeet.com or blackwhatever.com, but it seems to be so wide open where a lot of my followers who are conscious or like-minded didn't feel that it really, you know, attracts the same like-minded individuals. And so I created that site. So what I wanted to do differently was, instead of it just being a dating site, I wanted to add another element. So I was contacted by a couple, and they do marriage counseling, very ethnic-centered counseling, and they lended their services. So I said, wow, wait a minute. We can provide the dating element, but then for real issues that we have in terms of family and, you know, marriage and all the different things like blended family, a lot of different unique sort of circumstances that we have as people of color to be addressed. And I'm not a counselor, or I'm not a, you know, relationship guru by any means. So to have them with someone who's professionally trained and they're lending their services and advice, I said, okay, this is something different and this is something that could be better. And so I created that. And so that is Melanin Minds Meet. So there's not just the dating services there. There are, like I said, counselors on hand. There are several posts where people have really gone into depth about issues, you know, with that anonymous sort of feel. So you can kind of talk about that and things and be helped and not be judged. And then there's also a section for services that may be directed towards those needs, like photographers or caterers or event planners that are Black owned. And they're listed, and anyone who wants to list their business, their Black owned business, it's free. And the service is free, the website is free, everything is free.
Okay. I want to take that one part about how everything is free and go back to the fact that we're starting businesses, but we're not producing capital. Like we're not making money, and your business that you created that is ingenious is free. Are we giving too many discounts? Are we are we trying to help to the point of like, we're not caring about capitalism?
Okay. David Banner, he posted something that I thought was very interesting. He posted a meme and it says, I get money from other places so that I can keep my music pure. And that's kind of where we are sometimes as Black entrepreneurs. So I think that's one of the things that we have to open ourselves up to. So some of the things that I would suggest for entrepreneurs is we tend to create a product specifically for Black, target only Black, and then we don't get the revenue or the response because, you know, sometimes it's like, well, you guys asked for this. I made this. Where are you at? You know, or I'm doing this specifically for you, and you're not, you know, supporting the business. So where are you? And there's a lot of resentment. I think that we have to understand, we have to open up ourselves just as other people do. So that's what I would say. You know, do unto others as they've done unto you. White people have no problem targeting blacks for the black dollar. No other race has an issue targeting other races for the dollar. But when it comes to us, we have some sort of I don't know, like a moral compass. It's that black entrepreneurs where I think we felt so on the out that when we tend to open up or do what we're doing, we're like, okay, we're going to make sure it's black this and you see yourself and there's black representation and black everywhere, that we don't realize we're kind of pushing other people out. And I think we have to open ourselves up for that so that we're able to do just like everyone else does. They take money from everywhere and they invest into their own. And that's the thing that I think that we literally fundamentally, besides, starting up businesses where you're addressing just fundamental needs, fundamental services, because like only 37.6% of black owned businesses are in things like healthcare, maintenance, repair, things like that. And so a lot of our businesses, they tend to be, say, like a barbershop. But if you're poor, you can cut your own hair. So we have to definitely tap into things that aren't as easily replaceable, like plumbers, and electricians and things like that. But we also have to, when we do that, we have to open our market up for other races. They have absolutely no problem taking our money. But it seems we have a problem taking others' money. So that's definitely one of the things that I think that we have to do. So if you have, say, a T-shirt or some sort of design and it has Pan-African flag on it, for example, if you live in California, you might want to also have one with the Mexican flag. You might also want to, say, put Spanish up in translation under the thing, which is inviting for a Spanish person, because there's people who buy for blacks. They buy gifts for blacks, even if they're not buying it for themselves. But we just kind of need to open the door up, and funnel more money to them.
So how can we be more inviting? How can we, say, I am a black owned business, I serve the black community, but I'm more open for everybody. I'm here for everybody. When, we're at that point right now, I want to say, where the conversation is we're either segregating or integrating. And people are like, well, there aren't any products for just me, so I'm just going to make products for me. And, you're right. We are pushing others out. So how exactly do you?
Yeah, do you open it up? And that's what I mean by literally, it's sort of like what Beyonce just did. Beyonce put herself into position economically to now say what she wants to say, service who she wants to service, and target who she wants to target. And she's not at risk of a complete financial meltdown in doing so. Now, we can't all take that linear approach, and build, and then whoop, now I'm going to, make my own product. Sometimes we have to do those things parallel. So you may have a niche business that literally does service, say, only blacks, or only target blacks. But at the same time, you might want to also have something other than or alongside that opens you up for more revenue. Because again, myself particularly, what I do when I cater to blacks, this is definitely out of love. And that's my logical mind. That's my logical financial mind, is that I know just because of the numbers, if I only invested in this black dollars, I'm very much limiting myself. And overall, for what I want to be able to do, I want to have disposable income to support black businesses as well, right? So I have to factor that in. And so I have to have, if I have a product, and I do have products specifically for blacks, but my main business will not be just for blacks. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can look around and see how other people target us when they want our money. They include us in their advertisements. They include other races. Every person's dollar that they want, you're going to see that face in their advertisement. Sometimes they'll do something sort of specifically towards a particular group, But overall, their advertising and their marketing is inclusive. You know, it's not just, you're not going to see only Black people on the advertising. Because again, when we see that, we know how it makes us feel. It definitely says, oh, you don't want us, or you don't want our money. And so we have to be cognizant of that we could be sending the same message. And I'm all for, if people want to segregate or whatever you want to do, like I said, whatever methodology you want to do, that's fine. But what we can't argue over is where the capital is going to be needed and whether we can procure that capital only from the Black population. There's no way to do that. So you're going to have to get money from all sources. You're going to have to literally figure out how to turn white dollars Black.
So with you being a Fortune 500 company that has increased your profits by 250%, can you walk us through how we can do the same and increase our profits 250%?
Yes. We have to be brutally honest with ourselves. So as an entrepreneur and a person like myself, I have trust issues. So it's very easy for me to want to put my hands on every single thing and every single aspect. By doing so, I would be doing myself an enormous disservice. You must trust other people. You must respect other people's abilities, expertise, and contributions, and allow yourself to be helped and be serviced. You have to take inventory of self. You must know your strengths and your weaknesses, and you have to be very honest about that. And you fulfill those areas. You have to be observant for those that are already there and doing something successful. If you see, tradition kills profits. When you see people who say things like, let's suppose you go to a particular business and it's the holidays. And they're like, oh, the wait time is usually always 2 hours. This is just how it is for the holiday. And people will get used to that and never question it. It literally becomes like tradition. So for the store that I manage, the wait time was say 2.5 to 4 hours, and I cut that wait time down to 6 minutes. Just by looking at something systematically and saying, okay, this makes no sense, this makes no sense, eliminate that, cut that out, here you go, and creating. So you have to be open to thinking and innovative in the ways. And all of the resources that we need today are literally at our fingertips. We are really one of the most privileged generations in terms of information and knowledge. Everything you want to know is available on the link Empowered by Academic, which I'll repost. There is an app called iTunes University. You can take free courses, or literally there are courses that are recorded, previously recorded, and you can listen to. Some of them have videos, some of them have PowerPoint. You can take courses from Yale, Harvard, Berkeley, UCLA, USC, Cambridge.
And what is the name of this link?
This app is called iTunes U, which is short for iTunes University. And you can also access it on your laptop if you don't have an iPhone or an iPad. This app is free. And you can literally listen to previously recorded classes on just about every subject matter. So when I set out to create my business, and I took stock of myself, I knew that I had areas of improvement, say for copyright, trademark, laws, and marketing or business law. And before work, every day I would pop in my headphones and listen to it at break, when I got home, on my commute, and literally finish an entire course. The courses, most of them are about 14 hours. And so you just listen and it's there. So some people don't want the degree. They're already set where they are. Like, I already have 3 degrees. I didn't need to go back to school for anything else, but I wanted the information, you know, and I needed the knowledge, and I knew how to apply it to my endeavor. And so those are definitely some of the first things that you can do for yourself. Ask questions. Get with people who are in your business, in your wheelhouse. Those that are successful, go to them. Find a mentor. Humble yourself. Ask questions for someone who's already doing what you want to do. You know, if they're not doing exactly, you may have to piece it together. You may have to go to 2 or 3 people and sort of take what you need from each person and then put it together. Most people who are very eager to share what they know. That's I mean, my finding is that most people are very eager to share what they know. Of course, there's some people who are in competition with you who are not going to disclose certain information. And be prepared to do the work. Some people will come to me and say, oh, well, what, and they want me to walk them through step by step by step. Well, I'm the type of person, I give you something, you kind of got to go. You got to start, you got to be self-motivated towards learning. You know, I can't walk you through every single minute detail of it.
So I want to interrupt you really quickly. For those who are interested in have any questions as far as business is concerned, please give us a call, 617-282-0062. Again, that number is 617-282-0062. Or you can go ahead and hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter with any questions, comments, or maybe tips. Maybe you need some tips in something. Give us a call, 617-282-0062. Our Conundrum is on the line. This is the second time we've had her. She had the #1 show last year on cognitive dissonance. And this rising, we are discussing Black-owned businesses and how to diversify your little portfolio of businesses. And what we learned in the first half of the show is that we are #1 when it comes to starting businesses, but we are in the last little rung of the total pole when it comes to actually making money and being a part of this capitalistic society. So if you have any questions, if you want to learn how to increase profits, give us a call, 617-282-0062. Conundrum has increased her profits by 250%. So you want to know something, you got to ask questions, and you have to ask those who have the answers. I don't have the answers, Sway, but our Conundrum does. 617-282-0062. We currently have a caller on the line. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Good morning. I'm so impressed with the talk. It was so informative. I was almost in the parking lot at work. I turned around. I want to listen some more. Can I just make a comment and let your guest speak on it? I worked at family businesses. And I feel like sometimes people don't have a good sense of how much work. Like when you have your own business, it's not glamour, like sitting, put your feet on the table and order people. You go in early, you go home real late, and you do it for weeks and weeks. It's not glamorous, but you're building something and it's your own. But if your guest can speak on the amount of work that you need to put in to make it happen. And one more point, I had a friend who owns several gas stations, and he mentioned to me there's like a general rule: when the owner is there, profit is 40% more than when let's say the owner goes to another site, the profit kind of goes down. So it's like the presence of the owner in the business to babysit it and not now take the answer off the air.
Our Conundrum, did you get the question?
Yes, I did, and you are 1,000% correct. The amount of work is definitely something that I would say would vet out most people who are not really in it for the long haul. By me being going to college, of course, and that's an enormous amount of work. We all understand that. But when you're working, you're still learning on the job because you don't know what you don't know. And so anytime you're starting something new, there's so many things that arise and so many things that come up. And there's so much research and there's so much to do that, yes, the hours are there. You have to put in the work. It is not, like he said, the glamorous, just, putting your feet up. And no, you actually have to do the work. And in terms of the owner's presence, I say that that's also correct because I think that one of the things that also changes, there's some owners who are present, but they're not really, say, a part. Myself personally, even in a business where I managed, the one thing that I did is I did every single job that I managed, every single aspect of that job. And even as a manager, when everyone else did their job and I did my job separately, I still cleaned the restroom. And so my team, I had absolutely no problem getting people to work for me because they knew anything that I asked them to do, I've already done, and I was more than willing to do. So although I was a manager, I didn't treat anyone like they were less than me or below me because I understood the employee's work. And I knew that if any given point, these people don't show up, this place doesn't function. And so you need to treat them accordingly. And I created more so a family than a staff, of people who all had a common goal. We worked and we respected each other. And so I think that also has a lot to do with profits. But if you're not a part of it and your head is not in the game, no one is going to work harder for your business than you are. That's an absolute given. So thank you. And you're right. It is a lot of work. And it's no wonder why there's a small percentage of owners, versus employees, because it is not for the faint of heart.
I hope that answers your question. We do have another caller on the line, 617-282-0062. This Rising, we are discussing businesses, Black-owned businesses, how to go ahead and put yourself out there. So yes, you are catering to your own, but at the same time, you don't want to block off your blessings by only servicing Blacks. You have to open those doors and be a little bit more welcoming and say, listen, all can come in. I accept all colors, especially green. But, exactly. So we do need to take a step back, and I understand, the Black-owned business, but you have to open your doors to everybody who's trying to spend that dollar. Good Rising, caller, you're live.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Super fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well. I find it interesting every time I hear these conversations about open up their markets, and I have conversations with people of different backgrounds. It seems like the only time you see Europeans patronizing Black establishments in soul food places and entertainment. Very rarely, just watch TV. How many times have you seen a white CEO walk into the courtroom with a Black lawyer? It's very rare. Or how many times do they go on TV and it's like a famous athlete and their agent is a Black person? So this notion about, us open up our doors, I think it's a little bit disillusional. But here on the flip side, I was watching this thing on YouTube about these professional Blacks who went to Africa in many spectrums of business, who said their profits increased anywhere between 30 to 40%, and there was no red tape. So my question is, if you have this ability and you can have a higher profit margin by serving your own kind and creating human capital, where if you were educating the employees to start their own companies for a profit, it will benefit us greatly. I think this notion that the only way for our so-called elite to survive is in a market that's rigged.
Okay, our conundrum, is there anything you want to piggyback or add to that?
For one, we don't have the same climate in the U.S. as there is in Africa. I understand what he's saying in terms of attractability. For example, you may see Asians, whites, and Blacks at a Hispanic restaurant. You may see Hispanics, whites, and Blacks at an Asian restaurant versus a soul food restaurant. Now, I do understand that there is a little bit difference in terms of the type of food. We know white people, what kind of chicken they eat versus what kind of chicken we eat. I'm a little bit, on some aspects, there's that. That's why I said we have to tap into some of the fundamental businesses, like plumbing, like electric, like we have to literally kind of revamp our thinking on what we're capable of doing versus what we've been doing. That's not to say we don't have specializations and we shouldn't do our specializations. Of course we should. But there are also other lucrative ways of getting money. And again, they have no problem capturing our money. And this is the difference between us and them. Their dollar is circulating in their community, and those dollars are a lot of our dollars. so what I'm saying is I'm not saying do away with what you have as a Black servicing business or whatever. What I'm saying is you also need to open yourself up on the side or in parallel to what you're doing to capturing revenue from other communities and utilizing it for the Black community. I don't see that that's a problem.
Mr. Nubian, anything you want to add? I kept you on the line. No? Okay. 617-282-0062. We have a few more questions. If you have any questions as far as business is concerned, a Black-owned business is concerned, capitalism, period, any questions that you want to ask about Black History Month and business, 617-282-0062. Good rising, caller, you live. V from Tennessee, it's you, darling.
Good rising. How you doing this morning?
We are well. Talk to me, baby.
I had a question. Well, I wanted to piggyback on what she stated earlier about us being the highest number of that start businesses, but she was saying that we really don't make the profit. So I think therein lies the desire for people, especially of color, to be entrepreneurs. But if anyone knows or follow me on Facebook, I'm not sure, but I've been reading this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I just wanted to ask her if she's familiar with that book and what do we need to change about how we think about obtaining wealth? Because a lot of people look at their accounts and how much money they make and they choose a business based strictly on that, but they're not looking at their personal asset value as a person and taking care of their own business themselves and focusing on that. Because I think sometimes people get caught up in the fantasy of just being a business owner and they're not really looking at, like what you said, it takes 24-hour work, sometimes weeks at a time. You know, I know a lot of people that they own their own food truck businesses and I know them personally and they don't have weekends off. They don't have time to go kick it. It's like they wake up in the morning and they start early. They might get 5 to 6 hours of sleep because when they're not out doing work, they're planning. They're doing something else. So my question is, how do we change the way we think in terms of how we approach business and not let the entrepreneurial part be just this fantastic image and we're not looking at the work that we put into it in our own business and making ourselves the valuable asset?
Great question, V from Tennessee. Our conundrum.
That's an excellent question, and that is the pun intended conundrum. When you set out to create something, typically it is an endeavor that has an intrinsic, motivation behind it. It's something that you're passionate about. And so for people who are passionate and they literally are able to make money pursuing their passion, believe it or not, a lot of those people feel very fulfilled, in life because it's kind of a 2-for-1. They're doing what they love and they actually get paid to do it. And so the work doesn't feel as laborious as it would, working for someone else doing something that you don't want to do. So for myself personally, when I'm in my zone, I don't need an alarm clock. Like I'm excited to wake up. I'm excited about doing it. I'm excited about the research. I'm excited about the steps that I take. So in that regard, I feel fulfilled as an individual. No, I may not go out on Saturday and hang out with people or so forth and so on. But in that regard, I can honestly say I do feel fulfilled as a person. There are people who chase money. And they do away with their children's personal relationships and, things that are necessary components, for happiness in lieu of the dollar. And so that's kind of the balance that I'm sort of trying to present here is to say, I know for people who target Black and people who create products for Black people who do this for us out of love, we know that the profit margin is very narrow, oftentimes going into that. But it's not something we want to give up. So you're kind of saying, wow, okay, I've created this awesome product or this service, but I'm not making money. So you have to factor in that the people that you're servicing, they don't always have the disposable income to support you. So what do you do? And like Tayla said earlier, do you just keep discounting? Do you keep giving it for free? Which we know that's a huge problem, you know, in the Black community in terms of entrepreneurship. Like, everyone wants a discount, everyone wants to hook up, everyone wants it free, or they question your work. I did a little post about that in terms of consumers. Like, don't do that. You know, don't discount him when you don't go to Walmart asking for discounts or Target asking for discounts. Don't do that to the Black entrepreneur. But I understand if that you can't easily fix that. What I'm saying is you must open yourself up as an entrepreneur to capture revenue that's a little easier to procure. It's a little more readily available. And you can then take that and live on for your extrinsic needs and still be able to do what you want to do intrinsically, you know. But entrepreneurs are a very different breed of people. I'll say that. Like artists, you know, they're a very different breed of people. And so I understand the concern, but I wouldn't know how to really help say that on give advice on a large, because that would be like a personal thing, or this particular person or how they're operating, because that's kind of the nature of the game. You know, it requires that much work and that much time. But yeah, I do understand. No one should be. I would hope that they're not just so focused on money, but you know, it's almost like a personal choice. If that makes sense. I hope I answered that.
Absolutely. V from Tennessee, send me a message if that was perfect for you, or if you need, you know, a little bit more guidance as far as that question is concerned. We have one more caller on the line, 617-282-0062. And then I would like to ask a question for you, our conundrum. Good rising, caller, you're live.
Sure.
Hello.
Hi, baby, it's you.
Hi, good rising.
Good rising. How are you?
I'm just fine so far. One thing, there's two quick things. I would like to find out how I could reach her for some guidance, because I want to venture out on something to the school. And the other thing is that we as a whole, it's so difficult for us to patronize our own. We would look around and you'll see the Asian having these products for the Blacks. For instance, I was in New York and down on White Plains Road, and I'm seeing all these Asians selling the products, and I'm talking about food products that West Indians use, or talk about oxtail and all the things. And the Blacks on a whole would leave their people aside and go in and patronize the Asians, and then leave their own people suffering. You know?
Yeah. Oh. I don't know if he's done, but that is that's a whole nother segment, right? But you're right. It's a painful truth that along the way, there has been nearly 500 years of programming done to Africans that were brought into America. And part of that programming was convincing us that we were worthless, we were inept. There was a test done in the class that I took on internalized racism and the research. And one of the questions asked of the Blacks was, if you needed something like your computer done and there was an Asian or a Black or a white, like, who would you choose? And they were like, oh, the Asian. You know, if you needed heart surgery, or who, you know, when it came to areas of expertise and business, sadly, we would not select ourselves, because there's something in us that has literally sort of succumbed to the belief. And I don't fault us for that necessarily, because it's been a lot. There's a lot of micro and macro attacks on us from the time we can open our eyes to convince us that we are incapable and we are less than. And sadly, you see it in the preferences, like, you know, of who you choose to do business with. It can be the same product. And if unfortunately a white man from Italy says, hey, this is a designer bag and it's $25,000. Oh, yes, it is. If a black man said, oh, he's lost his mind. Who is he? What does he talk about? And that takes a lot more repair than, you know, I'm able to offer. That's definitely above my pay grade, but it's there and it's painful, you know, and I wish I had the answers to remedy that. The only thing that I try to do is continue whatever it is that I do. I try to put forth quality products. I try to make sure that I don't want people to buy from me just because I'm Black. I make sure that I am doing business that's comparable, if not better than my competitors, that my presentation and my product and everything about my performance is what you would get for the same dollar that you spend somewhere else. And hopefully, as we evolve and we continue to do that, that'll change, you know. So I can't change it, but I'm just going to contribute and do my part.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. If you guys have any more questions, 617-212, I don't know what number I was just giving you, 617-282-0062. So my question, our conundrum is, so when we take a look at FUBU, when we take a look at Sean John, when we take a look at these products that come out and are not marketed towards Black people, but we go ahead and scoop them up and make them ours, you know, at what point in time are we going to say, this is, you know, for us, by us, FUBU, let me go ahead and invest in that and buy into that. Today, FUBU could have been the true religion. We could have FUBU jeans, but it was a fad and it died off. How can we keep, like, as far as LV is concerned, I had to take a look at Coming to America. He had LV Louis Vuitton luggage walking through the airport. And we're still, to this day, 2016, walking through airports with Louis Vuitton luggages. And I'm wondering, how can we support our businesses that are Black owned, but are open those doors for others as well? How can we support those businesses and make them as big as these other names that we have put on shelves and, you know, put on pedestals? And while FUBU and Sean John are no longer, you know, high fashion or something that we would even wear respectfully. He's like, oh, you got FUBU? Hey, don't nobody wear FUBU anymore. What do you mean, Sean John? Like, we disrespect those brands, but yet that's for us, by us.
Right. Well, one of the things that we, in terms of fashion, because what I'm going to do, I can't discuss my business endeavor because I have a business patent pending, but fashion is something that's very, 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 very close to my heart. So in terms of fashion and us, what we have to do is steer clear of the trends, per se. We tend to do what is current and hot. And so it blows up really big and then it goes away because we are the innovators of what's hot and fashion and trendy. Whatever you find in the local hood, that's what becomes a global phenomenon, right? But we will be over it. We're like, oh, that's it. I'm done with that. The FUBU that was so 2002. We're over that and we move on. So designers, Black designers, they have to move into the spaces where they're creating timeless classics, which is why that same Louis Vuitton bag that was in the airport then can be the same bag in the airport today, and it can still be hot. So we have, as designers, is when we do things like that, we have to make sure that we start to create things that are timeless classics. Unfortunately, origin has a lot to do with where we place the stock in a designer. So if this designer is from, say, Paris or France, where there's this house and there's legacy, and we're really buying into the legacy because we want to emulate the leisure class. So we're going to do what the leisure class is doing. So we're like, oh, that's special. It's like, it's unique. Like the business that I had, say I could purchase, it could be something basic in the package, but because of the packaging with satin and velvet and all of this, you're like, oh, this looks fancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, but it's just the ideology of it. And so we buy into that sort of fantasy. So when you're buying that Louis Vuitton bag, you're not just buying a bag, you're buying a legacy, you're buying all of this that comes along with it. And that's why we want vanity prints, because we want people to know, Louis Vuitton was so popular and Gucci and things like that because you could see what it was on the outside. But you and I both know people who have money, you won't know what they have on. You don't see the labels because they're not buying. They're secure in who they are, their purchasers. But us, we're kind of like, we want you to see, we want you to know. And so, I would say Kanye, I know it's weird to just, I know everyone's like, what is Kanye doing? Kanye has really touched on a lot of that. And it is a space that you're talking about trillions of dollars that they don't allow anyone to enter. I mean, we talk about a good old boys fight club, but when you get over into the fashion industry, in California, for example, textiles is the second leading import under automobiles. You talking about big money. You know what I mean? Like, this is big, big money. And so they don't let just everyone in. They're not going to stamp just everyone. And everyone isn't going to make it into, say, even for us, your Nordstrom showroom, your Macy's, for us, you're an Nordstrom, you're Macy's. And so, I mean, Jessica Simpson, someone like her, she's done a really good job, in my opinion, at placing herself and longevity and actually being someone that's notable. We have to look at people and see how they sort of move. But if we brand it too much, where it's too attractive for what's hot today, we're going to be going tomorrow.
Our conundrum, we still have callers on the line and people try to call in. We don't have any more time. So how can people reach you personally for the questions that they may have?
They can email me at AKANUNDRUM@gmail.com. I'm the same name on Instagram. I try to answer all of my direct messages. Forgive me if it takes a little bit of time. And yeah, those are two ways to definitely email there and direct message there, or if they post or whatever, and I'll respond accordingly.
And one more time, give us that name again.
AKANUNDRUM.
Our conundrum. Go ahead, baby.
At gmail.com. And it's the same name at Conundrum on Instagram.
And Twitter. And everywhere else that you can socially find her.
Yeah, Twitter and Facebook, but those are the ways that I actually am on more often, that I do answer and contact people.
I thank you so much for your help. Is it possible that we can have you back on again? Because we do have, I have some Facebook questions over here. We have callers that are currently on hold. Thank you for your patience, baby. I'm sorry we were unable to get to you. So you think we can have you back as far as business is concerned, and maybe even Melanin Minds meet?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, sister, I love you. I love what you do. I appreciate you. And anything that you need, I am there for you. I have been, I was a little MIA, was a little way than everything. Other than that, I'm there for you.
Thank you, baby. Big City 101.3 FM, waking up with Tayla Andre, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope you guys have an awesome day today. Listen, one of the things that I got out of today's conversation is we are all starting businesses. We are number one when it comes to business creation, but we are the lowest on the totem pole when it comes to actually creating wealth for ourselves. So if you have any questions as far as creating wealth for yourself, I'm going to post all this information on the Wake Up with Tayla Andre page, and you can go ahead and reach out and have your questions answered. Mwah. Hope you guys have an amazing day today. Big City.
That's right, baby. You know what it is? It's DJ Sus One, the feature presentation. Listen, make sure you wake up with Tayla Andre Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m. on Big City 101.3 FM. Wake up with the Radio Rebel. Politics, news, conspiracies. Wake up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. This is the type of stuff I'm into, all right? Make sure you tune in. Let's go.
No, Big City. Just a little technical difficulty that I have absolutely no control over. We're going to try something else. Lord have mercy. All right, well, I'll just play you some music. How about that? Until we get this situation taken care of.
Run away, run away, run away, run away, run away. We belong together.
I screamed at you last night. How are you? I want a hug. I know you don't do hugs.
How are you?
I'm good. No complaints. Other than the system is acting up. It was down when I got here.
Shit.
Sure did.
I'm ready for Sam.
So it said that it was playing, but it's not.
Please enter your password.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody.
You want me to just pull out? And it just...
It ain't doing nothing?
No.
Shit here.
Guess who's here? You know how long it's been since I've seen this man? You know who that is? DJ Ew Neil.
Now it's gonna get even more interesting.
You should have knew what you were walking into.
Couple things out to it.